Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of 2A Arsenal Roundup News. My name is Richard Espinoza, I'm your host. 2A Arsenal Roundup News is your primary source for Second Amendment news, whether it be good, bad, or ugly, whether it will help benefit your Second Amendment rights or cause an effect on your Second Amendment rights. We keep you informed on what is going on around all 50 states as it relates to Second Amendment issues. And right now I have some breaking news concerning about a fired 7-Eleven employee. A couple days ago, a 7-Eleven employee from Oklahoma by the name of Stephanie Dilyard, who's 25 years old, unfortunately was fired from her job for simply using a firearm to protect herself and to protect her own life. She was in a position where she had to choose between her job or her life. And due to 7-Eleven's policy, their company policy, they forbid their employees to use firearms, which is okay, but not okay. In other words, it's their right to make these policies, but it's not okay when you're armed and defenseless and you end up losing your life, and then 7-Eleven has to answer to their employee's family on why she did not get protection that night. Well, in this case, Stephanie Dilyard used a firearm to protect herself. It turns out that a 59-year-old suspect had a fake $100 bill. It was counterfeit. He was trying to buy some food with it, and she refused to accept the $100 bill because she knew it was counterfeit. Then she ended up getting attacked. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to play the clip. You're going to listen to the reporter who reported this story, and then we'll discuss the situation that she was in, and I'll give you my thoughts on this issue. However, I truly believe that after you listen to the story, you should never, ever again buy anything from 7-Eleven. Don't buy a Slurpee, don't buy any coffee, don't buy anything from them. Because what they did to this employee is wrong. So I'm gonna play you this clip, you listen, and then we'll discuss the situation, and I'll give you my thoughts, and we'll talk about what you can do to send a message to 7-Eleven that they should not leave their employees unarmed and defenseless. That gun-free zones are a recipe for disaster. Luckily, Stephanie Dilyard was not charged because in Oklahoma State, the law, you have right to self-defense. And because it was clearly self-defense, no charges were pressed against her. However, her attacker did survive the gunshot wounds, but he will be charged. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to play the clip, you listen, and then you decide if you agree or disagree, and then write your comments down below. But I will play this clip, and then I will give you my thoughts.
A 7-Eleven clerk who shot a suspect in the stomach after police say he attacked her over a counterfeit bill. Fox 25's Rob Hagan joins us live tonight. Rob, I hear you just got some news from 7-Eleven.
That's right, Wendy. Good evening. Now, Stephanie Dilyard says 7-Eleven corporate called her today and fired her for using her own gun in self-defense. They say it's against company policy. She says she's lucky to be alive. 25-year-old Stephanie Dilyard was a 7-Eleven clerk who faced terror after she says a man tried to strangle her after she refused a counterfeit $100 bill for burritos, beef sticks, and ice cream. It happened Thursday, just before midnight.
He threatened me, said that he was gonna slice my head off, and then that's when I tried to call the police. Realized he started throwing things at me, came behind the counter. I tried to run off, but he grabbed his hands around my neck and pushed me out of the counter space. That's when I pulled out my gun and I shot him.
Police say the suspect, 59-year-old Kenneth Thompson, ran to MacArthur Boulevard and Northwest 34th Street and called 911. Police say Dilyard is protected under Oklahoma's self-defense law, but she says 7-Eleven Human Resources fired her Monday morning for using her own gun.
Said that they were going to separate from employment because of a violation policy.
Dilyard says she was working by herself from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. for more than 2 years. On Monday, she still had a scratch on her neck and burns on her finger from firing the pistol.
This was a situation where I felt like I was put in a corner between choosing between my job and my life. And I'm always going to choose my life because there's people that depend on me. I'm going home. You know, that's my goal. I need to be here for my kids.
Thompson was arrested at the hospital and charged with assault and battery, threatening acts of violence, trying to pass a fake bill, and a felony warrant for violating parole. Dilyard hopes this incident serves as a wake-up call so no other clerks get hurt or killed, especially women.
If I known that, you know, there's a potential where somebody could be for real in taking my life away, that I will do whatever it takes. You know, I hope that, you know, women see that and, you know, they'll do the same thing. You have the right to defend yourself.
Okay, so you heard the clip. I also have a link down below if you want to watch the original footage of this incident. I got this from Carry USA website. So if you go to Carry USA website, chances are you will find this story on there, but I have a link down below that you could listen to. Unfortunately, I couldn't download the original video for legal purposes, so I basically did some clips of pictures and did the voiceover for you to listen to. So again, you can watch the original footage on the link down below. And now I'm going to discuss this incident. If you're angry as I am, and I am upset, because I've been going to 7-Eleven for years as a kid, going getting Slurpees, and I go there to get a coffee now and then, but this is totally ridiculous the way 7-Eleven's policies are. So one thing I can encourage you to do is call up their CEO or send a message. I have the picture up above on who he is. It's CEO Mr. Depinto. You can Google his name. I have the picture right there. And then what you can do is send him an email. And I send him an email, let him know that I will no longer buy anything from 7-Eleven ever again because of this incident. And I hope that this will also bring the attention to the organization Moms for Liberty, who's also a pro-gun organization as well. They stand for liberty and freedom and prosperity. I hope this will get their attention. I don't know for a fact that 7-Eleven is being encouraged or being bought and paid for by these gun control groups. I have no evidence of that. But what I do know is that companies such as Kroger and Walmart has respected the wishes of gun control group organization Moms Demand Action, which is a Michael Bloomberg run organization. Kroger was getting pressured by Moms Demand Action to no longer allow customers to carry firearms in their supermarket, and Moms Demand Action got Walmart to do the same. And mainly Moms Demand Action are targeting the pro-gun states such as Wyoming or Arizona. They're trying to pressure the pro-gun states that have businesses that allow people to carry firearms encourage them to not allow customers to do so. The thing is that Moms Demand Action and all these gun control groups, they don't believe in self-defense. So in other words, they believe that you should be a sitting duck. And the reason why they're against self-defense, because if a law-abiding citizen uses a firearm to protect themselves, it destroys their narrative. And it also tarnishes their narrative. Then they have nothing to back up, because it proves them wrong that a law-abiding citizen makes the difference of stopping a criminal. Basically, the blood should be on the hands of Moms Demand Action as well as Michael Bloomberg, because they're encouraging these businesses. Now, I don't know if 7-Eleven is being encouraged by Moms Demand Action. I have no evidence of that. But what I do know is that's their policy. And I'll leave it at that. But what I do know is that both Kroger and Walmart are basically compromising to Moms Demand Action and Michael Bloomberg's other organization, Every Town for Gun Safety, or Every Town for Not So Gun Safety. And the fact of the matter is that they rather you being a sitting duck and not defend yourself. Now, technically, corporations have a right, businesses have a right not to allow people to carry guns in their businesses. They have that right. However, there's consequences that goes with it. And the consequences is that law-abiding citizens should not give their money to companies that are going to allow them to be in harm's way if a criminal commits a robbery. The thing is, criminals like gun-free zones because they know if you're unarmed, you're going to be an easy target and they're going to kill you. And then what? Then are the corporations such as Kroger and Walmart going to be proud that they listen to Moms Demand Action or listen to Michael Bloomberg? Are they going to be proud for listening to that? Now, again, I don't know if 7-Eleven has any connections with Moms Demand Action or Michael Bloomberg. I do not know that. But it's just not happening at 7-Eleven. And one of the things that Fred Meyer, which is part of the Kroger Corporation, they stopped selling guns and ammo because at the request of Moms Demand Action. They put pressure on them into boycotting them to prevent them from selling any type of firearms or ammo. Fred Meyer is basically like a Walmart or an old Gemco, if you remember Gemco back in the day. So basically, they've been encouraged in them. And I've been doing the research. I've been looking up that Moms Demand Action are targeting businesses within pro-gun states to encourage them not to allow their employees to use a firearm or carry a firearm while they're working, or encouraging customers not to. All it's doing is encouraging criminals to commit more crime. And Moms Demand Action are seem to be clueless when it comes to that. They don't seem to understand that they're making matters worse when they demand more gun-free zones, because criminals are not going to obey the law. Not at all. You know that, and I know that. But one thing I do know, in the state of Wyoming is technically a pro-gun state. And I live there. And I do miss living in Wyoming. Wish I could be there, but here's the thing with Wyoming. Wyoming is 100% pro-gun. However, clerks at local gas stations or convenience stores are forbidden to carry a firearm while they're working. Now, I hope that this incident at 7-Eleven will be a wake-up call for corporations in Wyoming such as Come and Go and Maverick. I hope that they will wake up and see what happened in Oklahoma because you cannot depend on the police all the time. Technically, it's not the police's job to protect you. You have to protect yourself. Well, it is their job, but keep in mind, the police cannot be in two places at once. You know that, and I know that. But unfortunately, in the state of Wyoming, clerks are forbidden. Now, I know some businesses allow it, and some do not. I'm not saying that every single gas station in Wyoming doesn't allow their clerks to carry a firearm. However, there are some that will not allow it. I spoke to a clerk whose name I'm not going to mention. I'm not going to mention the company. But I was in Buffalo, Wyoming, getting some gas. And this clerk mentioned that he could not carry his own firearm even at night and he says it gets creepy at night because you have creeps that hang around at night and you don't know what they're going to do to you. So if 7-Eleven is not going to allow their clerks to be armed, why do they not hire armed security officers? They're armed security. If they're not going to allow their employees, they can't trust their employees with a gun, why don't they hire private security? That's what I'd like to know. I would like to interview the CEO from 7-Eleven, and I would like to ask him. I would like to ask Mr. Depinto, what would happen if your employee that got fired was killed by that guy? She didn't use her gun, but she got killed. Would you feel responsible for what happened to her? That's what I'd like to ask him. Would he feel responsible? Do you feel any shame? That's what I'd like to ask him. What is it that you're afraid of? How come you will not allow your employees to arm themselves? And if you're not going to allow them to arm themselves, why don't you not hire armed security officers? That's the question that should be asked. They should be asked the questions why they're not allowing their employees to arm themselves. What's the problem you have with that? That girl, Stephanie Dilyard, could have been killed. She could have died. That guy was probably a lot bigger than her and a lot stronger than her, and she had to use her equalizer to take this guy down. Yeah, it's important. It's better to stay alive than keep your job, because you can get hired somebody else. And hopefully, Stephanie Dilyard will get hired somewhere else, maybe at a gas station that will allow her to carry her gun. But these small businesses need not to listen to anything that the Moms Demand Action says, and do not compromise to Michael Bloomberg. Let them throw their hissy fits. Let them threaten your lawsuits. This is the United States of America. There's a reason why we have a Second Amendment. And that Second Amendment is a purpose to not only protect ourselves, our loved ones, our community, but also protect ourselves when tyranny strikes. We have that obligation. But like I said, we cannot compromise to these organizations and companies, whether they be 7-Eleven, whether they be any type of convenience store. They should not compromise to Moms Demand Action or Michael Bloomberg. And I think that Mr. Depinto, the CEO of 7-Eleven, should answer to the public why 7-Eleven has such policy. And he should furthermore answer why he does not hire armed security. They should. Because if you don't hire armed security, chances are you're inviting trouble to criminals. See, criminals like to go to gun-free zones. And that's something that Mr. Depinto needs to learn. He needs to learn that all he's doing is inviting trouble for criminals. And if Stephanie Dilyard was dead, he should live with that, if that were to be the case. Luckily, she's alive. But to fire her to save her own life is totally ridiculous. That is why I'm encouraging everyone. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your family, tell your hunting buddies, shooting buddies, or whoever, do not give $1 to 7-Eleven ever again. Do not buy any coffee, Slurpees. Do not buy anything from them. Because they need to be sent a message that you don't fire an employee for saving her own life or their own life. That's the way we get things done, and that's the way we show them that they cannot get away with stuff like this, nor should they. Now again, 7-Eleven has a right to make their own policies, and that's fine and dandy. But they need to know that there's consequences that goes along with their policies. And those consequences will be boycotts, loss of businesses. Because what happens if an employee that doesn't, or a customer doesn't have a gun, and the clerk doesn't have a gun, and then the bad guy has a gun and kills both of them? What 7-Eleven would be sending a message: it's a gun-free zone. Our employees or our customers are not going to fight back. That's the message that Mr. Depinto's giving. If he's listening or if he's watching this, that's the message he's giving. And he doesn't seem to understand that. So if I were to interview Mr. Depinto one-on-one, I would ask him, why is it that you have this policy? What are you afraid of? Why can't you allow your employees to get armed training or get some type of certificate that they're trained to use a firearm? Why? Now again, I don't know if 7-Eleven is being bought off. I do not know that. And I don't know if they're being encouraged by these gun control groups. But what I do know is that these gun control groups such as Moms Demand Action and Bloomberg and the Southern Poverty League and the Violence Policy Center, which is ran by Josh Sugarman, they're encouraging these businesses not to either allow their employees to carry a firearm for protection and encouraging not to allow customers to bring guns into their businesses. That's what they're doing. And if you do the research on there, you will see companies that are compromising to these groups. You just got to look it up. But I will give you a link on how Kroger and Fred Meyer is compromised to Moms Demand Action. So if they're not going to allow you to carry your firearm, simply do not do business with them. That's all you can do. And again, they have a right to tell you that you're not allowed to carry a firearm in their business. You just say, okay, that's fine. I'll just make sure people don't do business with you. And then you spread the word. Tell your friends and tell whoever. Don't do business with this company if they're not going to allow you to carry their firearm in their businesses. Because we do not live in a perfect world. We live in an insane world where we have a lot of weirdos that are out on the loose, some of whom that should be in prison, and they're not being locked up. Remember, your life is worth everything, and you should have a right to defend yourself. Whether if you're male, female, the Second Amendment doesn't discriminate against anyone. Well, that is it for today for 2A Arsenal Roundup News. Please give me your comments. Give me your thoughts. And I would also like to hear from single moms out there. If you're a single mom who depends on a firearm to protect your kids, I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear a comment from you. Or if you're a guy that's dating a single mom who's dating a mom who has kids from a previous relationship, do you have concerns about her safety and her children's safety? Do you feel that the girl that you're dating or the girl that you're engaged to should have a firearm to protect herself while you're away? I'd like to hear from you as well. Give me your thoughts. And again, whatever your opinion is, I will respect it. Whether if you agree or disagree, I'd like to hear from you. So that is it for today for 2A Arsenal Roundup News. And if you have any important legislation, any important Second Amendment related news that you want to bring to my attention, feel free to send me an email at RJ Espinoza, that's RJ Espinoza, ESPINOZA roundupnews@gmail.com. Just tell me what your state you're from, what the legislation is about. Will it benefit your Second Amendment rights or will it do harm to your Second Amendment rights? Just give me all the information and I'll be sure to do it on my next podcast. Well, until then, be armed, be vigilant, carry your firearm, and protect your community, family, and your community, because that's what the Second Amendment's all about. It's not just about guns, it's all about freedom. Talk to you later.